All right, what's going on, world? Welcome to Ichabod. I am your host, Be Good, and I got a question for you. What is the worst thing that Christianity can do to a person? You might think of all kind of things like making someone a bigot or having someone go around the world repeating a bunch of things that are not true. Um, we're going to dive in today to something that I think, for me personally, has been the most harmful uh, thing that Christianity has done to me. And to do that, we're going to dive back into some of my old lyrics when I was a Christian rapper. I was a Christian rap artist for about 20 years, Grammy nominated, and all that good stuff. And today we're going to be diving into the theme song, the title track for my album, The Incredible Walk. So hope you're ready for that, ready to join me. Come on into the live chat. And as we like to say here, greet somebody in Reason's name. And in the meantime, while you're coming in, I want to give a shout out to, of course, all of our Patreon supporters. We actually even picked up some new Patreons whose names belong on this list. So shout out to you all. Specifically, I'm thinking about Elvis Butler, who we just interviewed in Life After Faith. But definitely want to give you all a shout out. Thank you for supporting the channel. If you're not subscribed, subscribe, hit the like button, and drop a comment under the video. Would definitely appreciate that as we get ready to dive into Raising the Bar number 3. And I know I sort of did a third one already because I did the song Me from Incredible Walk, but I didn't really dive into it. So some people might be like, hey, this should be number 4. I'm actually going to go back and do the song Me and give it a full treatment because last time I just used it to talk about something else. I think that was the Easter episode. I was talking about the resurrection. So I'm not really counting that as a full Raising the Bar episode. Also, let me know in the chat if my mic is sounding funky because last time I dove in for like 4 minutes and my mic was bugged out. So let me know how the mic sounds. My mic sounds nice. Check 1. If you're old school enough, you know what that reference is from. But yeah, how's the mic sound? Let me know, and then we can get going. Mo Wheat said, can't catch the live, but I'm gonna watch it later. Thank you for just checking in. Appreciate all the Patreon supporters. Mo, when you see this later on, just know, salute you, homie. Everybody else who's in the chat, just drop a little hey if you're at work and you got to sneak to do it. I'm not telling you to break the rules, but just throw a little something in the chat so we know that you're live. Thank y'all for rocking with the channel here. A little history about the song. I'll give you a little taste of it real quick, and then we'll talk about the history.
Believe me when I tell you this, the world is wicked, there's no telling what they'll do next. But I don't even have to focus on the evil without. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to send me to the chair. That's clear if I stare looking at a crooked cat in the mirror. Who, me? Truly,
right, got too good to me. I had to let it go for a minute there. So this song, The Incredible Walk, of course, you know, it's a play on The Incredible Hulk. And even as you can see with the album cover there, the album cover is playing on this idea of there's me, and then there's another me. And you see the clothes ripped. So think about, the Incredible Hulk character and him coming out of his clothes. And we're going to talk about how that imagery plays into what this song is about in a second. But things important to know about the song, or at least it's important to me to talk about this song. This song is one of my favorite songs that I've ever written. It is not one of my favorite songs to listen to for a particular reason, because the music in this song is not the original music. The music you're listening to, like, I would imagine there's some people who hear the music and would think to themselves, like, why did he choose that track? Like, that don't sound authentic or hip hop or something. It sounds a little, you might even, I would have said when I first heard, if I would have first heard this music, it's a little corny sounding. Like it's not that intricate musically what's going on there. Actually, what's happening is this music is actually a recreation of what the music was supposed to sound like. This was made by a guy named Kevin Arthur. Kevin Arthur, you've on the last song in this album is a song called Hope in the Streets. And I start off by saying, every time I connect with Kevin Arthur, we end up repping out Heavenly Father. So Kevin Arthur made that track. He also made this one, but this was his remake of the original. So he produced this track. And when I heard it, I fell in love with it. I jumped on it. I wrote this song. Everybody I played it for they was like, yo, this is crazy. This is crazy. This is crazy. And shout out to Kevin Arthur. He was also at the time, he was the musical director for Common. If you know the rap artist Common, Common's band, he was traveling with Common, but he was also a part of he's originally part of our team. Matter of fact, he was part of the original, like the first Christian rappers in Philadelphia, a group called Poets for Christ. He was the bass player for them, but he was part of the whole cross movement entourage in those days. But he produced this track. I was debuting it for everybody. I was like, yo, love this song, love this track. The way you ride the beat itself is so dramatic and artistic. We went to London to do a show. I think we went to Liverpool, I think somewhere in the UK, and met up with one of our friends in the UK, this cat named Shabazz. Shabazz, if you catch this, what's up? And Shabazz heard it, and Shabazz was like, oh, yo, I love this, man. Oh, Duran Duran, this is one of my favorite songs. And we're like, yo, you know this sample? You know where this sample comes from? It was a Duran Duran song. It was the first couple seconds of a Duran Duran song. I had never even heard of it. I don't even know the name of it to this day. But the fact that it was so easily recognizable to him, we were like, damn, we can't use this now. Like, we're going to get sued. And so it was okay, do we just choose a different track? And Kevin Arthur was like, I can remake it, because Kev is a bass player. So he said, I'll remake it. And this is no diss to Kev. I love Kev and love his creativity and all that. But he remade it, and this was the remake. And it was like, almost like, sorry for having a biblical reference, but I just have these biblical references. In the Old Testament, they said when they rebuilt Solomon's temple after it was destroyed, they rebuilt Solomon's temple, and everybody, all the young people was like, oh, this is great. All the old heads were like, oh, this is a travesty. It pales in comparison to what this thing was before it was destroyed. Well, this remake for me is like, it's never going to be the same. So maybe you heard it and you thought it was okay, or maybe you liked it. It will never be what the original was to me. I mean, I don't even know if I have the original anywhere. Elvis says, is the original beat still available? Kevin might have it somewhere on a disc, on a floppy disk. I have no access to it. I wish I heard it. Wait, he said, Kev, that's you know Kevin Arthur? How would you know Kevin Arthur? We got to talk about that. That's crazy. I mean, he has traveled the world, so maybe that's how you know him. But anyway, enough about the music to the song. So the worst thing Christianity did to me, I was actually going to come on and do this episode called The Worst Thing Christianity Did to Me. I was going to do that regardless. And then about 6 o'clock this morning, I'm laying in bed, and it dawned on me that this particular song actually is a great depiction of the episode I was going to do. So I said, okay, I'll just make it a Raising the Bar episode, and we'll make this number 3. The worst thing Christianity did to me was that it taught me, I don't even know how to say it. I do know how to say it. I don't know how to break into it. So on my Facebook page in the last couple of days, I've had several Christians, because I'm always antagonizing and poking at people who still believe this nonsense. And they come on my page and they say, who hurt you? Somebody must have hurt you. Why are you so mad? Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I know you're being sarcastic. Like I sound obsessed or wounded or injured or whatever. But if I had to think about it, it's not completely untrue. Like I can't say that I'm not hurt. I think I've been scarred by this religion, by having believed it so deeply for so long. But if I had to put a name to some of the wounds, to some of the scars, one of the scars is that this religion gave me a very unique and a very weird brand of psychosis. And I would argue, I wonder if, I don't think I'm the only one, but I would argue that it's not just me. So what I'd like you to do is listen to this episode and tell me, is it just me? Or did Christianity do this to you too? Even the people who are telling me, oh, who hurt you? Somebody must have hurt you. If you ever realize what's going on about the scam that's being pulled on you, I guarantee you will evidence the same wounds that I have. But even if you don't unbelieve, even if you don't lose your faith, what I'm going to suggest is that if you think about it, if you listen to what I'm saying in this episode, I got a feeling that some of you all are going to be able to say, damn, I think I got the same psychosis. I think I've got the same psychological complex that you're talking about in this episode. And what is that? What is that complex? The psychosis that I believe I've suffered from for decades because of Christianity is something called disassociation. I think Christianity has talked me into and helped me to disassociate me from myself. And this song is a perfect example of it. And there are two ways that I disassociate. One is, and I'm going to talk about these as we go through the song. One, Christianity taught me to look at myself from a third person perspective. The other way is Christianity taught me to look at myself through a second person perspective. And what this means is I spent very little time living my life in the first person. I spent most of my time looking at myself from someone else's point of view, not from a first person point of view. All right. So if you play video games, you know about that. You know about the first person perspective, as opposed to zooming the camera lens back and looking at the character play the game. If you look at it from a first person view, you're actually in the game. You're there seeing through your own eyes. It's a different perspective than looking from the outside in. And this song is actually going to talk about me, not as me. All right. A couple of Bible verses that are going to actually show you where I get this third person perspective and second person perspective from. I don't even know the address. It's been so long. I just off the top of my head, one of the early Bible verses that made me take notice. I think it was Isaiah 57 or something, or 55. It says, "Thus says the Lord, the high and lofty one who inhabits eternity." And it talks about God dwelling in a high and holy place. Right? So he's not down here where we are. He's up above in this high and holy place. He inhabits eternity. Another verse, if it's not the same verse, has God saying, "My ways are not your ways, and my thoughts are not your thoughts. For as high as the heavens are above the earth, so are my thoughts and my ways above yours." And when I read that, I said, damn, there's somebody looking down on us. And as high as the heavens are above the earth, that's how high his thoughts are above our thoughts. That's where the term heaven's mentality came from. If you know anything about the rap group I was a part of, Cross Movement, our first album was called Heaven's Mentality. That album was named because I had this idea of, okay, if God's perspective is that much higher than ours, then it's no longer cool to be walking around planet Earth looking at things with Earth's mentality. I want to walk around planet Earth looking at things with heaven's mentality. And the album was supposed to be just me and Ambassador at first. And then at some point we roped Tonic in and it became me, Ambassador, and Tonic. Heaven's mentality was this idea of stop looking at things from earthly's perspective, look at things from heaven's perspective. Well, what did that do? Think about this. Think about how you see or saw your life when you were a Christian. If you're looking at things from heaven's perspective, you now are not in first person mode anymore. You now have zoomed the camera lens out and up so high, and now you're looking down on the earth, you're looking down on life, and you're looking down on yourself. You're looking at you live your life. You're looking at you make your decisions. You're looking at you in your relationships with other people. You're looking at you pursue your goals. So you're not really in it. You're outside of it, watching it. And I can remember looking at myself back in those days, almost as if I was watching a narrator tell the story. As if my life was a play that God and the heavens were watching, and I too was having this sort of outer body experience watching me live my life. And that robbed me of a certain amount of joy. It robbed me of a certain amount of authenticity because nothing was ever happening in the moment. I don't know if you've ever heard psychologists or even people who deal with biology or even physics in a way. They say we never really are seeing things happen in the moment because it takes, even if it's a nanosecond, it takes time for what you're seeing to be sent from your eyes to your brain and then for your eye to interpret it. So by the time you've actually understood what's happening, you're always, even if it's a hair of a second, you're always a little late because it takes time for that information to travel. This is why people marvel at cats, because their reflexes are so fast that for some reason they're able to respond. It's not instantaneous, but it's so much faster than we can. Well, in a similar way, I was living my life with a huge delay because I was not really in the moment. I was outside of the moment, watching the moment happening, interpreting the moment, and then acting. Everything in my life was this way. And if you hear this and you say, damn, Brady, you was extreme, or you took it too literal, or you did it up, all I was doing was trying to believe the Bible and be the best Christian I could be. So I abandoned looking at things through my own eyes, and I always wanted to know, how does this play in heaven's mentality? How does this play in God's eyes? That gave me a third-person perspective on my life. The second passage of scripture, and I know we got to get to the song, but having gone through this, when we get to the song, you will instantly see how this played out. The second passage that gave me this psychosis, this complex, is Paul in Romans 7, where Paul disassociates. Paul says, for the good that I want to do, that I don't do. And the evil I don't want to do, that I keep on doing. If then I find that I'm doing the things I don't want to do, it's no longer me who's doing it. It's sin that dwells in me. O wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? So now I have this other perspective. If I'm looking at myself from a third party perspective, from the heavens looking down, I'm looking at myself saying, look at him. Look what he's doing. Not I, him. If I look at myself through Paul's perspective in Romans 7, it's not a third person perspective, but now is it me doing it? No, it's something else that's dwelling within me. It's this body of flesh. So it's me, but it's not me. So now there's a second person perspective. It's you. I'm looking at myself saying, what are you doing? Not what am I doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? And so once again, I'm removed from me. Yes, it's me, but then it's in some weird way, it's not me. And then Paul says, if then I'm doing what I don't want to do, then it's not me, it's sin that dwells in me. Then he says, oh, but thanks be to God, now that Jesus Christ has done what he's done in my life, Now with my mind, I serve the law of God, even though with my flesh, I still am this slave to sin. So there's this idea of two me's. That's where the concept of the song came from. With that in mind, I think now we'll be able to enjoy it. So I'm going to play it. And I'm not going to play the verse straight through. If you haven't heard the song before, it sucks for you. You can go back and listen to it. I'm probably going to play about 6 to 8 bars, stop it, come back and talk about it. All right. So that's what we're going to do. Should I pull up the lyrics first just so we can have it on the screen? Let me do that. Hold on. All right, give me a second. Incredible walk. Lyrics. All right, once again, genius.com got the lyrics for us. All right. Okay, so let's go. And here we go.
That's two, isn't it? I don't know how to confess. They'll do next. Believe me when I tell you this, the world is wicked, there's no telling what they'll do next. But I don't even have to focus on the evil without. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to send me to the chair. That's clear if I stare looking at a crooked cat in the mirror. Who, me? Truly.
All right, so just right there. Hopefully you're able to catch what's coming there. I got to share the screen. Sorry. Present. Where's it at? Share screen. Boom. All right, you're probably going to see more than I want you to see right here, but let me see what it looks like in your eyes. That's not good, is it? Hold on. How do I do this? I'm sorry. I should have worked this out beforehand. Let me pull up another window. That's what I'll do. Sorry, y'all. Incredible walk lyrics. Boom. All right, now we're cooking with gas, as they say. Present, share screen. Okay, you should see it better now. Let me know if not in the chat. And it still looks kind of small, but is that too small to see? Y'all tell me. Can y'all see those lyrics? That's what's up, Tramview. Glad that I could introduce y'all to my back in the day as well. Is that too small to see those lyrics? Should I like just take it off the screen because you can't even really see it? It looks small for me, but I don't know how it looks for y'all. That's okay. A bit bigger. Let me see. View. Zoom in. Is that better? Can't see it when it's full screen on my phone. I forgot that y'all are on their phones too. I don't know why. That's still not natural for me to think people are on their phones. All right, so maybe I won't put it on if it's not that helpful. Maybe it's just not. I won't share that, but I have it in front of me. So sorry for working that out with y'all in real time, but I won't share the lyrics, but I will walk through them. All right, let me zoom back out then, since I don't need it that big. And I'm also going to perform them just a little bit while we're on here, just so you can hear how it goes in case you forget the music I just played. I start off, believe me when I tell you this, the road is wicked. There's no telling what they'll do next. And that's classic Christianity, right? You're always, if you're not demonizing, um, you're always judging. You're looking at the world. You got to wonder, why do you always point out the evil in the world? And of course, they say the negative stuff stands out, right? Of course. But why not talk about the good in the world? Why didn't I come on and say, believe me when I tell you this, the world's beautiful, no telling what we'll do next? No, I focused on the wicked, the wickedness in the world. Why focus on that? That just goes to show you that religion is cherry picking what they want to focus on. You could have built an entire religion based on the beauty of the world, coming up with ideologies and explanations to explain the beauty. But no, you come up with ideology to explain the evil and the ugly. Okay. But I don't stay focused on the world, because what good Christian theology is going to do is it's going to judge the world. It's going to wag the finger at the world, but it's also going to turn the camera around and point at the self, which I do. Believe me when I tell you this, the world is wicked. There's no telling what they'll do next. But I don't even have to focus on the evil without. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to. So one thing I will say about this is I love the way I wrote this. Like I said, I don't think I'm the best rapper in the world, but I will argue you down that I'm one of the best rap writers in the world. There's so many internal rhyme schemes here. It's beautifully written, if I must say so myself. So forgive me for saying so, but I don't even have to focus on the evil without. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to send me to the chair. That's clear if I stare, looking at a cricket cat in the mirror. So I'm introducing now. I mean, Michael Jackson even told us, right? If you want change, where do you start? With the man in the mirror. So I'm looking at this man in the mirror and I'm seeing another me. And if you go back and listen, you hear right away. And when I start off, I say, believe me when I tell you this, the world is wicked. There's no telling what they'll do next. There's a That is a different character. It's me, but it's a different me. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to send me to the chair, talking about the electric chair. Like, think of, even that line is crazy. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to send me to the chair. I should be electrocuted. I'm not just judging the world. I'm looking at myself as worthy of death for the things I've done. No, just because I've got desires. Jesus said, if you've even lusted after a woman in your heart, you've committed adultery. I got enough reasonable doubt within me to send me to the chair. That's clear if I stare, looking at a cricket cat in the mirror. So once again, the internal rhyme schemes, looking at a cricket cat in the mirror. Then the other voice chimes in, who, me? And then I answer myself, truly. Like, am I crazy? Who am I talking to? I'm talking to myself. Why? Because my religion has taught me to disassociate myself from myself. So now there are two me's on the scene, and I don't even really know how to work it out. But either way, this is what I'm dealing with. So I introduce you to the conversation. Let's go back and hear how wild I am here. I took it off the screen. Stop that screen. Oh, here it is. Boom.
The enemy is the air. That's clear if I stare, looking at a cricket cat in the mirror. Who, me? Truly, the enemy is the enemy. Nothing but me in the vicinity squared. That's two, isn't it? I don't know how to configure it or what digit to hit to make the equation equivalent. All I know is there's a war going on.
Okay. You gotta love it, y'all. You gotta love it. I got enough reasonable doubt to send me to the chair. That's clear if I stare, looking at a cricket cat in the mirror. Who, me? Truly, the enemy is the enemy. Nothing but me in the vicinity squared. That's two, isn't it? I don't know how to configure it or what digit to hit to make the equation equivalent. So I'm almost admitting to how insane this is. I don't know how to explain this to you, but there's two me's on the scene. I don't know how to configure it or what digit to hit to make the equation equivalent. All I know is there's a war going on. And so here I am buying into this BS, buying into this, there's two me's. And if you ask me to explain it, I couldn't explain it to you, but I'm sticking to the story. Beautifully illustrated in these rhymes. But like I said, when I was doing the last song, Just because it makes lyrical or artistic sense does not mean that it makes sense intellectually. But I made it sound good, so here we go.
On my sinful nature. Isn't it? I don't know how to configure it or what digit to hit to make the equation equivalent. All I know is there's a war going on, and my sinful nature seems to be the source of it all. If I can get rid of it, I'll be further along, and I wouldn't be standing here singing the words of this song. What I don't want to do, I do. I pursue what I shouldn't. If I could, I'd sue. This other me loves me to the death and would literally die just to satisfy my flesh. It takes every breath and blessing that God gives just to use it as a weapon against him.
Y'all gotta talk to me. Y'all gotta talk to me. Like I'm spitting. Like this is Paul's theology in hip hop form. This makes no sense. Rather than just say, hey, I don't always do what's in my best interest. Rather than just say, hey, I've got some desires that maybe I need to check these desires. Like, it's not necessarily bad to look at yourself from a third-party perspective. It's not bad to take a step back and say, yo, that's wild. Like, you look crazy right now. Like, look at how you look through the eyes of other people. To try to take an objective view. That's not bad. That's okay. But to put yourself in a position where you live your entire life that way, where you're never in first person mode, you're always in third person or second person mode, looking at yourself like that's not you doing that. That's not you wanting that. And if it is you, it's not the real you, or it's a different kind of you. So let's talk about these lyrics here. I said, that's two, isn't it? I don't know how to configure it or what digit to hit to make the equation equivalent. All I know is there's a war going on, and my sinful nature seems to be the source of it all. If I can get rid of it, I'll be further along, and I wouldn't be standing here singing the words of this song. And it goes, what I don't want to do, I do. I pursue what I should, and if I could, I'd sue. Who? This other me. Loves me to the death and would literally die just to satisfy my flesh. Now, there's a sense in which I know what Paul is getting at here. Like, who hasn't done things that makes you say, damn, I'll never forget about, what's his name? He plays Tracy Jordan. What's his real last name? I forget his. I always want to call him Tracy Jordan because he plays Tracy Jordan on 30 Rock. Y'all know who I'm talking about. I'm gonna have to look up his name because I'm blanking on it. Tracy Morgan. I don't know why I was blanking on his last name. Thank you for everybody who put that in the chat. Yeah, thank you. Tracy Morgan, he was on, I think it was either Letterman or Jay Leno back in the day when late night talk shows was the thing. And, he's just talking, and he's talking about why he doesn't like protected sex. And he says, he said his motto is, if you're not willing to die for it, you don't really want it. But it's okay to look at yourself and look at what you've done and say, man, I really was wilding that night. I can't believe I wanted pleasure that bad that I was willing to do X, Y, or Z. I can't believe I wanted to escape that bad that I was willing to take that amount of, whatever the drug might have been. I was in Miami with one of my Patreon supporters, shout out to Thurgood, was in Miami a few weeks ago, and I accidentally took 20 times the amount of THC that I normally take. I normally take 20 milligrams. I took 200 milligrams at once. That was an accident. I never in my life thought that I would be able to relate to the people I see that are strung out on drugs. But that night, I was like, it was like I was trapped inside myself. Literally, not like this song. I literally was trapped inside myself. My mind was telling me to get control of my body, and I could not get control of it. My my I was tensing up, swinging at things, and I was telling myself, "You're not in danger. What are you doing?" But my body was doing something that my mind was trying to tell it not to do. Like, you might look at yourself from a third person perspective and say, yo, when you did that, when you were willing to do that just to get the pleasure, just to get the whatever you were asked after that night, that was wild. I think that's okay. I think it's okay to recognize when you have self-destructive tendencies. When I was a Christian, I used to compare. There's probably some Christian who's going to hear this and steal this metaphor. So I hate giving you fuel for your sermon, but I used to compare the sinful impulse to the Terminator. Remember the first Terminator movie when they basically had like half destroyed him? He had no lower half of his body. He only had one arm, and he was still like clawing his way forward to get closer to kill John Connor because that was his mission. I used to compare the sinful desire to that. Like, we will destroy ourselves. We will lose limbs and ligaments and still be clawing after the sin that we like. That's the way I explain our impulses, our motivations, our drives before I understood social biology. Once I understood social biology, I said, oh, I don't need sin anymore. But since I didn't understand it, I was describing it. You describe life in the terminology that's been provided for you. My religion provided me a vocabulary, and so I called it sin. And in so doing, I wrote this line. I said, and it goes, what I don't want to do, I do. I pursue what I shouldn't. If I could, I'd sue. Who? This other me loves me to the death and would literally die just to satisfy my flesh. So rather than dealing with that in a social, biological, psychological way of understanding my motivations and my drives and ordering my drives and my passions and prioritizing them and putting maybe safety above pleasure and maybe putting health above happiness, rather than doing that, I just demonize the whole enterprise and I call it sin. My religion helped me do that. But I don't just call it sin, I also disassociate and I say, oh, that's not the real me. That's the sinful me. This other me loves me to the death and would literally die just to satisfy my flesh. It takes every breath and blessing that God gives just to use it as a weapon against him. So rather than saying, this is just me with appetites and cravings and desires and passions, pursuing them, now I'm going to turn it into an indictment against myself, because I'm not just doing this to satisfy my drives. No, I'm doing this because I'm at war with God. I'm adding injury to the insult. I'm making this a personal, and if you go back and listen to my music as a Christian rapper, I really was big on this idea that mankind is at war with God. Why? Because I'm getting my worldview from a book that comes from a people who saw themselves at war with everyone else and wanted their God to be at war for them. And so they wrote about the world in ways that was very adversarial. Everybody's an enemy that our God's going to rule over, and everybody who's not worshiping our God is an enemy to our God. So I'm adopting, I said this on the podcast before, right? There's a verse in the Bible that says, do not make friends with an angry man, lest you learn his ways. Well, what if ancient Israel was an angry nation? I made friends with the theology of an angry nation, and I begin to see everything in adversarial ways. So now it's not just me with natural appetites. No, even my appetites are me aiming weapons at God to hurt God. That's what this line says. This other me loves me to the death and would literally die just to satisfy my flesh. It takes every breath and blessing that God gives just to use it as a weapon against him. Madness, y'all. Madness. All right, let's go back.
Sin that God gives just to use it as a weapon against him. Takes every good and perfect gift that comes from above and perverts it like love. Gets changed for lust. It's dangerous, like taking gust of angel dust. When God displays disgust, cause we reject his ways even though his ways are just.
All right, I'm not gonna spend much time on this, even though I could. I haven't done that. Like, I haven't looked at these lyrics in years. So I didn't prepare for this. I'm hearing this for the first time in years. And so I'm just trying to see what stands out to me. And as I'm detailing my crimes against God, I say, I take every breath and blessing God gives, just use it as a weapon against him. Takes every good and perfect gift, talking about my other me now. It takes every good and perfect gift that comes from above and perverts it like love. Gets changed for lust. It's dangerous, like taking gust of angel dust. When God displays disgust, because we reject his ways, even though his ways are just. I don't want to say too much about that. This is just me poetically waxing about how sinful I am.
Cause we reject his ways even though his ways are just. I'm stuck with the old nature that's corrupt and plus incapable of pleasing God. Believe I tried and succeeded not, but then Jesus died and rose again. He clothes us in a new nature so the old one won't win. Now I'm opposing sin and natural whims, but that's when this battle begins. There's a war going on. Sure you're right, sure you're wrong. Who said that? You. Dead that you're strong, but God is stronger. Lord help me to conquer this monster. The incredible.
All right. Shout out to the chorus. James, what's up? James says, I was on that Holy Ghost delusion. Man, weren't we all? Weren't we all? Anything in there I wanted to touch on? Let me see. I just say I'm stuck with the old nature that's corrupt and plus incapable of pleasing God. Believe I tried and succeeded not, but then Jesus died. So just this idea of you cannot please God. What does Hebrews say? Without faith, it's impossible to please God. But in my flesh, there's no good thing dwells. So the way the religion just beats you down, like your righteousness before God is filthy rags. There's nothing that you could ever do to earn God's favor. I mean, it's such a destructive way to see yourself. So think about that. It's not just that the religion teaches you to disassociate from yourself so that you see yourself from either a third person perspective or a second person perspective, and you spend very little time living in first person player mode. It's not just that. It's that while it's teaching you to see yourself from these outside views, it's teaching you to see yourself as a disgusting human being. It's teaching you to see yourself as depraved. It's teaching you to see yourself as even the good that you do is filthy rags before God. There's nothing redeemable about you. And if there is anything redeemable about you, it's only the fact that you were made in God's image. So the only redeemable thing about you is that in some faint way, you resemble him. That's the only redeemable thing about you, is that you look like him somehow. But even that, you messed that up too. Like, you've marred that. So you're seeing yourself from the outside looking in, and you're seeing yourself as in the worst possible way you could see you. That is destructive. But I don't leave it there. The second verse, I try to give hope. And let's see what the hope is as I display this outside looking in perspective. Making changes in real time via subscriber feedback is low-key dope. I like it. So now I'm tempted to be superstitious. Matt Dillahunty, did it happen again? Matt Dillahunty tells atheists to stop saying to Christians that being religious is a mental illness. Josh says, fix Brady's mic in Jesus' name. James says, say Matt one more time, I dare you. um, so I think Matt is right. I don't think that being religious is a mental illness. I think being religious is an honest attempt to get answers to questions that we can't answer. And if someone tells you something that's unfalsifiable and you're not a critical thinking person, you're prone to it, and your whole society operates this way. And you hear that people have been operating this way for, I mean, centuries and eons before you were born. It doesn't take a mental illness for you to subscribe to, oh, well, then I guess that's the way the world is. So all of that was to say, no, I don't think it's a mental illness to be religious. But I do think buying into the tenets of the religion, such as I did in this song, buying into the religion does produce a certain psychosis where you're not thinking about things in ways that align with reality, and it's not healthy. And so I think I was suffering from a kind of psychosis. And here's how I know. Because even though I spent the majority of my life as a Christian looking at myself through this third person lens or this second person lens, the good thing is I did not become a serious Christian until around age 16. You know what that means? That means I've got 16 years before Jesus to compare my worldview, to compare how I looked at myself. And when I look at myself before Jesus, everything was in first person. 100% of my life was in first person. Now, granted, remember I said, I don't think it's bad to step back and look at things objectively. I probably would have benefited from, at times, pressing pause and looking at myself objectively. But I spent 100% of my time before I became a Christian living life in first person. I know what that life is like. I look back on those early years and I was in the moment. 100% of my life was in the moment. There was no outsider perspective. I was there. I was in my relationships. I was able to have fun. I was able to enjoy life. I was able to, without having to stop and think about, how does this look from heaven's mentality? How does this look from somebody else's perspective? So I know what that's like. And I get to compare that to what it was like as a Christian, where I had to take every thought captive and submit it to the knowledge of Christ. I know what that kind of delayed life is like. And it's night and day. That's why I say I suffered from psychosis. So much so that even now, I still have a hard time. I have to do certain things to intentionally make sure that I'm in the moment. And I'll talk about some of that after we go through the second verse. And I promise you, because I had all that time trying to fix the mic, I'm not going to belabor the points in the second verse, even though people who are not watching the live won't have had that experience. But okay, so that being said, I do think what I'm doing in this chorus, I think it does display a certain amount of,
Who said that? You dead that. You're strong, but God is stronger. Conquer this monster, the incredible walk. If you look from the outside in through skin, you meet the me who was born in sin. But if you go from the inside out, you meet the new me, born again about 10 years ago. 10 years to grow in. Here we go in stereo. Got two inputs, right and left, asking, are you in for life or death? Check.
Beautiful bars right there. Not beautiful in the logic I'm expressing, but the fact that I captured this part of the Christian life. I said, if you look from the outside in through skin, you meet the me who was born in sin. But if you go from the inside out, you meet the new me, born again about 10 years ago, 10 years to grow. And here we go in stereo, got two inputs, right and left, asking, are you in for life or death? Just a depiction of these two me's. As a matter of fact, I didn't realize I lyrically just talked about what I said. The years before I became a Christian, I didn't have two inputs. It was just one. It wasn't, think about JR, right? JR's got an album called Life in Stereo. Well, before Jesus, life wasn't in stereo. It was mono. There was no two inputs. It was a mono stream. One input, one first person, one outlook. In these bars, I say, if you go from the outside in through skin, you meet the me that was born in sin. So I'm demonizing and vilifying the flesh. But if you go from the inside out, you meet the new me, born again about 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And here we go, in stereo. Let's see what these two inputs, and this is where I get super lyrical in this part coming up right here. I love this part, even though I distance myself from the mindset. Let's see.
This new me is truly meet the new me, born again about 10 years ago, 10 years to grow, and here we go, in stereo, got two inputs, right and left, asking are you in for life or death, check, this new me is truly where to trust God, where I used to be scared, and I'm like, what's that all about, walking out faith when I thought I had a cause to doubt, I'm telling y'all it's a trip, now I'm getting equipped to rep the God of the biblical scriptures, motivated by a visual clip of the life of Christ and the cross is the pivotal picture, like an old film digitally fixed up. The images so vivid, digits register on the Richter. Even if it takes a while, I'm only trying to see.
I hope you can appreciate the beauty that was in those bars, and if you can't, I'm going to run it back for you. Let me take that off the screen. Give us a sec here. I say, this new me is truly weird. It trusts God where I used to be scared. So I'm sort of just giving a nod there to once you become this born again Christian, now you're willing to live by faith and trust this deity. Whereas before you're like, oh, I ain't giving up myself. I'm not going to die to myself. You become a Christian and you're willing to trust God where you used to be scared. And I say, trust God where I used to be scared. And I'm like, what's that all about? So now the new me is questioning, or the old me rather, is questioning this new me. Like, yo, why are you doing this? Why are you willing to trust God? So it's like, what's that all about? Walking out faith when I thought I had a cause to doubt. Then I get super lyrical and I say, I'm telling y'all it's a trip. Now I'm getting equipped to rep the God of the biblical scriptures, motivated by a visual clip of the life of Christ and the cross is the pivotal pit. Oh, I love that line. Motivated by a visual clip of the life of Christ and the cross is the pivotal picture. Like an old film digitally fixed up, the image is so vivid, the digits register on the Richter. So I'm really just trying to pay homage to this idea of what happens at the cross of Christ when you see your sin for what it is and it weighs you down because now you know you're a sinner and you're going to have to stand before a holy God. You've disappointed God. You've let God down. You're at war with God. You're angering God with every breath that you breathe. You find yourself at the foot of the cross and you see that, oh, man, at the cross, man, all of God's wrath and his holiness, and not only that, but his love and his justice and his grace, all of that is worked out here at the cross. And I say the cross is the pivotal picture. I'm motivated by a visual clip of the life of Christ, and the cross is the pivotal picture. Like an old film digitally fixed up, the image is so vivid, the digits register on the Richter. I spent my life trying to make that image very vivid for people because I believe that once you saw the cross the right way, you would no longer be the same. You wouldn't want to be the old you. You would be this new you. Thank you for the shout out. David Devise 777. Thank you for the €5. Quick shout out. And I want to give a shout out to you, David. I saw your interview or conversation with this brother, Joshua Caldwell. Joshua on his channel. Now that's debatable. For those of you who don't know, I've done several episodes with Joshua on this channel. Joshua did a Life After Faith episode a while back and then came back on recently to talk about, to react to interviews on his channel. But David Devad, I hope you don't mind me telling a little bit of your story real quick. You've said it as much in the comments, and then you even said it on the interview with Joshua. Joshua also goes by AAA. But David, you said in the comments here before, when I first came out with my book, you bought the book because you were hoping to dunk on me. You were a firm Christian at that point, and you were going to, like, basically you were going to just take my book and let me know why I was wrong. But then having read the book, you said, man, Brady's making some points here. Now I got to go do some research myself. And then looking at people like William Lane Craig, having to admit that, human evolution by common descent with the great apes is a real thing. And that sent you on this trek where now you're in deconstruction. And there have been times in your comments where sometimes you sound like an unbeliever. Sometimes you still sound like a Christian, but you're deconstructing bit by bit. And then you wanted to have conversations with me about morality. You and I still disagree on morality. You had issues with some of the things that Joshua said, and he invited you onto the show. And I think that was a great conversation. So I say all that to say, Joshua, if you don't mind, if you're still here, can you put the link in the chat to your channel so people can maybe put the link to that episode so people can go and watch you have a conversation, right? Joshua, AKA AAA, he's an atheist who used to be a Christian, having a conversation with a Christian who's deconstructing. And I think it was a great conversation. And I think you guys are even planning a part 2, if I'm not mistaken. So sorry for the sidetrack there, but I think you guys really should go check that out when you get a chance. And thank you for showing love to Joshua. I love the fact that we can agree where we agree, disagree where we disagree, and not have to demonize or call anybody out. If Joshua's not here anymore, the link to his channel is Now That's Debatable podcast on YouTube. So go check that out. All right, back to the bars. Yep, for sure. People say my channel is criminally undersubscribed to. I think Joshua's channel is criminally undersubscribed to. So please go subscribe to his channel. Watch the conversations that his co-host Facade, they have conversations with each other. And then sometimes they bring Christians on or theists on, or I know you were looking for a Hebrew Israelite to come on your channel too. Did you ever get a Hebrew Israelite to agree to come on? I would love to see that. All right, back to the bars. We got to wrap this up.
Like an old film, digitally fixed up. The images so vivid, digits register on the Rick. Even if it takes a while, I'm only trying to see what's gonna make God smile. In contrast to the me of times past, quick and illegitimate, willing to commit a crime fast. Now I serve the Lord with zeal and stay sobered up and soldiered up, cause the war is real. Not fighting with the sword of steel, but slicing with the spiritual sword that's sure to pill.
So I'm just basically talking about, now that I'm in this thing with Jesus, now I'm at war with the old me, and this is how I roll. So even if it takes a while, I'm only trying to see what's going to take God's smile. So I'm talking about self-control and patience. Like I said, if you look at life through the lens of social biology, you realize that it's really just a matter of prioritizing and ordering your drives and desires. But because I'm not doing that, I'm looking at things through the lens of reality. So now I'm letting God be the thing that God is now the grid that I'm putting all my passions through. And now I'm learning self-control and patience, because now what does God say? God says I should wait until I get married to have sex. Okay, now it's going to help me control my sex drive. God says I should not be drunk with wine, but filled with the Spirit. Now that's going to help me control how I consume, or if I consume drugs or alcohol. It's doing the same thing, just by a different means. The only bad part is I'm subscribing to myth to get these results. So it's not that religion is necessarily or inherently bad. I benefited greatly from becoming a Christian. It helped me to order my drives by teaching me to order my steps in God's word, as the psalm and song says. But I didn't have to do that. That was the only way that was available to me at the time. I still have to order my drives and desires. I just don't do it through myth anymore.
Soul from spirit and war is real. Serve the Lord with zeal and fast. Now I serve the Lord with zeal and stay sobered up and soldiered up, cause the war is real. Not fighting with the sword of steel, but slicing with the spiritual sword that's sure to pill. Soul from spirit and flesh from bone, and I roll with the spirit, never left alone. Plus, my click is more consistent than the metronome when it comes to letting Christ set the tone.
Yo, if you're not a barbarian, if you can't hear what I'm saying there, once again, just some great lyricism there. Now I serve the Lord with zeal and stay sobered up and soldiered up, because the war is real. I'm not fighting with the sword of steel, but slicing with the spiritual sword that's sure to pill. Soul from spirit. And so once again, just giving the God I believe in props for having a Bible, a word that's it's so sharp, it's dividing soul and spirit. Now, what is soul and spirit? Could do a whole podcast on this idea, this immaterial thing that's somehow trapped inside the material me. Like, what kind of sense does that make? But that's what I believe, right? The spiritual sword that's sure to pill, soul from spirit and flesh from bone. Now I roll with the spirit. I'm never left alone. Plus, my click is more consistent than the metronome when it comes to letting Christ set the tone. That's a great wordplay right there. When I say my click is more consistent than the metronome, if you know anything about music, if you make music, if you play an instrument, there's something called a metronome, which is really just a click that just goes, and it helps you keep the pace of the song. So when I say my click is more consistent than the metronome, I'm not talking about click, C-L-I-C-K. I'm talking about my click, C-L-I-Q-U-E, my group, the guys that I roll with. My click is more consistent than the metronome when it comes to letting Christ set the tone. So just some good bars, and then I cap it off with this piece here.
More consistent than the metronome when it comes to letting Christ set the tone. So daily, my sinful side is outlined in legible chalk, and my new insides outside, it's the incredible. There's a war going on. Sure you're right. Sure you're wrong. Who said that? You dead that. You're strong.
All right. Last line. So daily, my sinful side is outlined in legible chalk, letting my new insides outside, it's the incredible walk. Once again, beautiful bars there, multisyllabic rhyme schemes. Talking about daily dying to myself. Who's dying? Me. What are you dying to? Yourself. Who's still living? Me. So there's two me's. One is dying daily. The other one, I'm dying to myself and then living to God. That me that's dying daily is outlined in legible chalk. I'm letting my new insides outside. It's the incredible walk. I no longer have to die daily. I no longer have to look at myself from the outside looking in. I'm trying to practice the art of living in first person mode. And that's sort of why when I let Christianity go, I became a hedonist, right? I think one of the things that has been therapeutic for me is living for pleasure, because I spent so many years as a Christian denying myself, dying to myself, looking at myself from the outside, thinking about how it looks in the eyes of some being who's as high above me as the heavens are above the earth. Now, pay no attention to the fact that they thought the heavens was a dome, and on the other side of that dome, God was resting his feet. Don't worry about that. Just as high as the heavens are above the earth, you're looking at yourself through that being's eyes. So when I deconverted, pleasure, seeking pleasure, helped me put myself in first-person player mode. So I wasn't spending so much time rationalizing and thinking about what it looks like. I'm there in the moment. So whether it be edibles, right? I love edibles now because it helps me feel things that makes me say, don't look back on this or look forward to this. Be in this moment, right? Sexual gratification. I mean, I seek pleasure and I enjoy the pleasure. It helps put me in the moment, right? my relationships with my family members. A lot of times in the past, I was always having conversations with family members, thinking about how is this conversation, because God's going to replay everything, and every idle word is going to be, God's going to review it, and God's going to reward you for, like, the saying, only what you do for Christ is going to last. I was having conversations where I couldn't be in the moment because I was always delayed thinking about what can I say that's going to play well when this plays back in the throne room of God when he reviews my life. Now I'm in the moment with my friends and family. And to be honest, it actually shortens the list of people that I can have these real conversations with, because there's some people who I know they're still thinking about how is this conversation going to play before the throne of God, and I can't have the real conversations with them. There are Christians who, I think it was the YouTuber. I always forget his name, Ruslan. When he was trying to critique a song, he was trying to critique me and Derek from Myth Vision. We did an episode on his podcast, and he talked about unbelievers, people who leave the faith, always talking about being able to be authentic. And he talked about it as a negative, like as if it was some sort of indictment against people who leave the faith, that they feel like they can be their authentic selves now. To me, that's not an indictment. It's a relief. I don't have to blame my desires, my passions, the way I get down. I don't have to blame that on some other me. I can own it and say, no, I want to do X. I want to do Y. And like I said, I still might censor myself around certain Christians, because I know, I'll just be real with y'all. Like, I remember back when I was a Christian, one of the things I struggled with was pornography. And I had a stretch where I was doing extremely well with not giving in to watching pornography and masturbating. And I remember I went to one of my Christian mentors, an old head. He was about 30 years older than me, maybe 40. He actually just passed away recently. And I went to him, I said, hey, I'd like you to be my accountability partner. I want you to hold me accountable so that I don't go back and watch porn. This dude said to me, he said, now, I'm probably not the best person to hold you accountable because I'm still struggling with that. And then for some reason, this dude told me the things he's struggling with. And he did not mean for this to happen. This was years ago. This is like 20 plus years ago. But him telling me that that's what he struggled with, even though I had just had a period of recent success, him telling me what he was struggling with made me go back and start struggling with it again. I was like, damn, I didn't know that existed. And so because of that, I'm now always very careful. Even my Christian friends that I'm around, I don't share certain things with them because I'm like, damn, I would hate to, even though I don't think there's such a thing as sin, I know they still do. And so in my authentic self, being my authentic self, damn, it's almost like I'm still living by Paul's rules, right? Didn't he say, don't let your liberty become a stumbling block or a reason why somebody else stumbles? I just think that's a good humanistic principle. So even though I'm not a Christian, I still play by that rule. The thing that I think I have the liberty and freedom to do, I'm not going to go throw that in somebody else's face, because in their mind, it's sin. And in their mind, they're going to struggle. They're going to stumble. I know people who, they can't even hear about certain sins without it sending them on a 2 or 3 week bender in that direction, whether it be sex, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. But that was a digression. I say all that just to say, I live authentically now. Like, sometimes people ask, like, why do people, when they become unbelievers, why do they start cursing? Calming Waves Julian says, that story about the older guy making you stumble is funny. It's real talk, yo. It's real talk. That's messed me up for a while. But why do people who unbelieve, former Christians, why do they start cursing? Because there's something about being able to, you probably want to curse even as a Christian, but when you censor yourself, it further puts you in this place of not being authentic. There's a part of you that is really you that wants to say, fuck that, fuck him, fuck her. This is bullshit. There's a part of you that wants to curse. But the part of you that's censoring you, for whatever reason, is making you less authentic. It's making you more inauthentic because you're not being and doing who and what you want to. And so even cursing when I curse, sometimes it's because the situation calls for it. Sometimes it's just a reminder to myself that I'm fucking free. And I can do that if I want to, if I choose to. But that authentic living is my response, is my reaction to this incredible walk that I thought I was living on, where there's a war going on. Sure, you're right. Sure, you're wrong. Who said that? You? No. If there is a war going on, it's me warring within myself, trying to reorder my priorities, restructure my desires, to figure out what's best for me and what's best for the people around me right now, in light of what's available, in light of my options, in light of my desires, my drives. That's how I live my life. No more incredible walk, even though I will continue to deconstruct these songs. You see behind me, I got the poster for my Crime and Consequences album. On the other side, I got the artwork my sister did when she was helping me promote my incredible walk. I have these things behind me because they're a reminder of who I was. And I'm trying to not use the language and make it seem like that was a different me. No, that was a younger me. That was a less critical thinking me. That was a less skeptical me. But that was me. That was me. But this is me now. But thank y'all for rocking with me even through the technical difficulties. Appreciate you guys for commenting. Share this if you get a chance, if you feel so inclined, and let me know what songs you think I should do from my catalog next. I'm doing Fanatic songs, but I think there might be some cross movement songs that I want to do as well. But if I do venture into that, then I'll be here all night, and I don't plan on doing this ad infinitum. But if there are any songs from the old catalog you want to see me deconstruct, definitely shoot me a message. Anything you want me to react to that's online, viral videos or whatever, definitely shoot me a message. And other than that, I'm going to go and enjoy my me in first person player mode. Love y'all. Peace.